Okay, are we able to have Shante, have you said something? Okay, let's go next to Pat. Let's try Pat.
Good morning, everyone.
Say again?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I
said
can.
good morning, everyone.
Good morning, good morning.
Okay.
How are you? Awesome.
Good morning. I'm good. I'm at work, so my participation is going to be limited, but I'm listening to every word.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for participating. Yep. Come on now. Wonderful. Let's see who's next. We have
Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
likewise. Jean Paul, you there? Jean Paul Hernandez.
I'm here.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Terrific. Give us a little background on you. How are you?
My name is Jean Paul Hernandez, aka Barrio Boy. I started a community garden next to my parents' house, and have been at Red quite a few times. So I'm excited to learn first hands-on from Dr. Greenhand and everybody there, and continue to be the change that we need in this inner city for sure.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Thank you for coming out. Really look forward to meeting you. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. All righty. See, we have quite a few folks here. Let me see. Let me get another pick. Manny Santiago. How you doing, sir?
How's everybody doing today?
We blessed. Thank you.
My name is same here. My name is Manny. I run the organization called the New Era Young Lords. We're basically like a activism group, like boots on the ground type deal. The reason why I got into this was because of the man that was talking just a second ago, JP.
Yeah.
He really, pulled me into the whole world of agriculture, and I started doing a lot of volunteering, like at Ridall. He has a community garden on the west side. So like we're just trying to, like do what he just said. Basically, like get the city more to understand like self-sustainability and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So like I'm just here to learn as much as I can, so I could just pass it on to the next person.
Man, that sounds so great.
I need to go take it
to Benny or Bing. Benny. Is Benny there? Because apparently Benny. Okay, we'll come back to that one. What I did want to do, since we have some of our principals on the phone or on the line here, wanted to introduce a few of you. And again, we're gonna start with our beloved sister and daughter, Hunter. She read all queen down there sitting up, all beautiful. Come on, give us some understand who you.
Okay, hi. So my name is Hunter. I work in two areas because I focus on environmental health. So I'm a lead risk assessor for the state of Ohio. And then I focus on urban ag. I work at Ridall part-time, and I work at our farmers market as well part-time. So a little bit about me is I've been involved with Ridall for about 5 or 6 years now, since we're in 2022. And I started off in the Youth Farmers Leadership Program. This was a program held by Environmental Health Watch and Ridall Green Partnership. And it kind of just deployed the youth over the summertime around urban agriculture, community engagement, social justice issues. So I basically just stayed on, and over the years, I just grew with Ridall. So now I work at the farm and then work at our farmers market.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Again, since on my screen, you see it right next to Dr. Greenhand, we're going to Dr. Greenhand to give us the, give us some introduction. But you know what? Hold on, let Brother Lavelle speak first, because I want to save you for last, Dave. Save you for last. Brother Lavelle. Lavelle, you there? Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back. Go ahead, Dr. Greenhand. Unmute yourself.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, you good now.
Hi, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to this next class that's coming up, 5-month course. My name is David Hester. They call me Dr. Greenhand, as you'll find out. They call me every other thing too. Dr. Feel Good, you name it. Feel good for the heart and mind now. Okay. Yes, but I'm excited to meet everyone.
Okay.
I've been a part of the organization since its conception. And as I said, I'm looking forward to meeting you all tomorrow. I'll talk more tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks, Doc. Awesome. Yeah. So Dr. Greenhand will be a primary instructor and master, resident master. Put y'all to work. Get you some understanding. I see a few people who are chiming in, but not yet available. Is Benny? Benny there? Anybody know? Because they're not able to be muted for some reason. I don't know what's happening. They just disappeared. I don't know. Okay, so we're good on that piece. I wanted to take a moment and opportunity again, as we say, we wanted to welcome you all out and to begin the process of sharing the wonderful class that we have today. We have a partner of ours from Central State University, our beloved friend, Ambrose Moses. He will be chiming in after a certain point. But we wanted to start here a little bit and kind of give you all some understanding about what you're doing here today and what you're doing here this season. Okay, so it's all about Real All Green Partnerships, Urban Agriculture Workshop Series. And so for us, it's really important that we embrace this and that we take it to the next level. Okay, for me, we're very, very passionate about this. In fact, let me share you all with this. Hold on. Okay. Welcome to Rid All. So again, tomorrow you're gonna come to the farm, and we're gonna tour a little bit. We show you a little bit about what we have and what we're doing there. But again, for those who are not familiar, you will become familiar, very familiar over the course of this 5-month period. Those of you who are familiar, you will see possibly some aspects of the farm that you had not yet seen. And so again, we want to really encourage you to make these moves. Okay. Went into our aquaponics house. This is the feel, the touch, and the spirit of the first greenhouse. And this is what you really, 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 take away with you when you come to Rid All. How do we become that simple farmer? What is your intention? Are you a simple farmer? I mean, what is your intention? However, for us, we understand we love that title. No matter how many degrees we have or what type of socioeconomic position, what type of self-concept we possess, to be a farmer and a simple farmer is realistically one of the best things to be. Farming is the sole occupation that offers total independence and self-sufficiency. So if you really want to be independent and self-sufficient, farming is definitely the piece for you. Now, again, you have latitude and you're able to control, your activity, your finances, and many of those things that are very, very, important, to maintain and to establish your own agribusiness. However, if you create your own business, you will be the one that's able to, to take it and tweak it and grow it out, blow it up and take it to the next level. Because urban life, capitalism, and technology destroy independence and dignity and foster vice and weakness. Now, you know what we're talking about as far as vices and weaknesses. You know, the vices are all the addictions and things that we have, you know, all the various, you know, things that are really hampering the real lifestyle and creating a death style for many of us. You know, the dignity is gone, you know, destroying the independence. You become dependent. You're most often having to rent from somebody, waiting on somebody, doing something to do something for you. You know, being within the context of a society of capitalism, you're being capitalized on, like, you know, all the time. So as soon as you're born, you're pretty much being charged every minute of your life, especially in an urban environment. So for us, we understand that the agricultural community, with this fellowship of labor and cooperation, you know, cooperation is the model society. You know, this is where we need to really get back to, because when you control your resources and control your finances and control your time and control your field, then you're really realistically able to, you know, be involved with an exchange of goods and services. You know, you have automatically a bunch of goods that you can swap out, trade, take to market, sell. You can do a lot of things, you know. So again, understanding that this is, you know, new leverage. This becomes a new way to create latitude, you know, for ourselves economically and viably. It's very, very important. The paradigm is going to shift, and a lot of things that we knew and understood as life as we know it is going to be much different, much different, very, very soon. So this is why these skills are important. This is why these skills are so very, 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 you know, essential, you know, to know how to eat. If you can't eat, then you can't live, right? So knowing how to eat and having access to food is key to life at the ground level, you know, and water, right? So again, the farmer has a solid, stable position in the world order. He has a sense of identity, a sense of historical and religious tradition, you know, a feeling of belonging to a concrete family, you know, those of like mind, a place, and a region, which are psychologically and culturally beneficial. So we're talking about culture, you know, a way of doing things, you know, agriculture. So, you know, many of our people are agrarian. Many of your ancestors, relatives, you maybe your mom, maybe even you know, agrarian, one who lived and loved the land, thrived on the land, you know, sought benefits from the land. So the harmony of the farmer's life, you know, checks the encroachments of a fragmented, alienated modern society. So again, you know, the benefits, you know, they have a way of mitigating, you know, the problems in life, you know, mitigating the problems in society, you know, and some of the people that you may not want to see or be around. You get into the farm, you get into your soil, into your field, or into your garden bed or what have you. You can get lost and just have a wonderful time. And we talk all the time about how, you know, valuable and important it is to put your hands and feet in the soil, that it activates something within us. It turns on something within us that stimulates your pituitary gland, to release the serotonin, you know, the oxytocin, and you know, endorphins into the body, which is like a natural feel-good chemical that we produce. And so, but it takes activation. It takes activation to, you know, how would you say, to be able to duck and dodge the seasonal depression, the things that we experience, you know, living in a place like Cleveland, where you have less than 152 days of sunlight a year on average, right? And knowing that the temperatures go down, they be gray and ugly sometimes. You know, how do you pick yourself up from those things? You know, again, you know, nature, you know, Yah has a way, the Creator has a way of giving us things to how would you say, keep us in harmony with what we're supposed to be doing as a people. Real important, real important. Okay. Cultivation of the soil. Hold on. Has within it a positive spiritual good, right? And from the cultivator acquires the virtues of honor, manliness, self-reliance, courage, moral integrity, and hospitality. So again, looking at the cultivation of the soil. So what is that about? What's that about? To cultivate the soil. And in cultivate, I just said about putting your hands or feet in the soil. So is it just about cultivating and turning the soil? We understand that, but we also have to understand that this soil has within it a supercharged, positive spiritual good. And when you place yourself in the soil, it's nothing but good. It's supposed to come from that, right? And so they result from a direct contact with nature, and through nature, a closer relationship to God. Because the agrarian person or the agrarian is blessed in that he or she follows the example of God in creating order out of chaos, right? So that's real key to understand this cultivation piece. Also going back, understanding how, we can't get a certain way about words, because again, it says their manliness. So, I mean, most everybody online is a woman, right? She's like, what are you talking about? I ain't trying to become no man doing this. Right? It's not about that. It's about the whole concept of husbandry, right? Husbandry was a word, before we really begin to associate it with, like, your husband, or that man is a husband, what have you. But see, the man is really supposed to display and demonstrate a virtue, right, of stewardship that makes him a husband, right? But that same virtue, if anyone applies it, they really are a husbandman. So, if you're a woman, somebody call you a husbandman, that may not be the best way to hear it. But in terms of the definition of husbandry, this is what it go into. So we go with that, sisters. I don't want to slight nobody. No.
I'm good with
it. So then what does it mean to cultivate? The cultivation. This piece here is very, real important. Hold on a second. You got a little technical difficulties. Okay, so then what is a cultivator? What is a cultivator? Who is someone that cultivates? To cultivate means to foster the growth of.
Hey, I wanted to get back here before you left.
To foster the growth of, right? To improve by labor. I would like to ask Renee, mute your phone, please. To improve by labor, care, or study. To refine. So to cultivate means to do all these things. So let's go back here a minute. Right? So we're looking at the agriculture community with its fellowship of labor, you understand, and cooperation is a model society. So as we said that, so then this is a society of people who have like minds, a society of people who actually want to cultivate and develop better relationship with the earth, with the soil, and with each other. So this is realistically what we're looking for. Okay, so cultivation of the soil, understanding that. So then who is this cultivator? What is to cultivate? To foster the growth of, meaning, help something grow. Because now we say it all the time that, first of all, we specialize in growing relationships. It's about relationships for us, right? First of all, at one level, the relationship between ourselves and the natural environment. And then ourselves and, and the foods that we eat, and ourselves and each other. But understanding that we have to grow an opportunity within you, it starts in your mind. So your mind is really the garden bed. your mind really is supposed to be that fertile ground where the seeds of truth and understanding can take root and grow a wonderful produce, right? To improve by labor, care, or study, right? To study. So having to do with, cultivating this relationship as a farmer, what you're cultivating is a relationship with your environment. You're studying constantly, understanding, refining your understanding, right? To improve your activity, right? So this is more than just about some food. It's more than just about some dirt. We don't even say dirt because dirt is not even a thing. Dirt is inert. It means that it really has no redeemable properties. But soil is living. Soil is what we deal with. Soil is what we use as the catalyst, to start the change, right? So again, to cultivate, to refine, and to further encourage. You know how it is when you're trying to cultivate a relationship with somebody. It's the same way with you and your plants. The same way it has to be with you and your garden bed. The same way it has to be between you and your seeds. Your, how would you say, your all of your tools, everything that you need to have a better life. Very, very important. To further encourage that, to seek the society of, and to make friends with. That's what it means to cultivate. So we're here in this class, you're starting this process. We want to know, and we want you to know from the beginning that it has to deal with you, right? Seeking a better relationship with the natural environment, seeking a better relationship with being the steward, right? Fostering growth, and not just in the field, but in your life first, because your life is a reflection, and the garden is to be like a model to demonstrate to us different examples of metaphors in life. Just like any of us have ever read the Bible started out in the garden, right? It starts out in the garden where humanity was remade, shaped, and formed in a garden, right? And it's the same concept that we're talking about. This is why it says one of the most important things that you can do as a farmer is the cultivation of the things that you're working with. Means to develop a great relationship with. Very important, y'all. This is one of the biggest things that you're gonna have to take away this season. Because what's your relationship prior to now? What has your relationship been prior to now with a lot of our, how would you say, natural entities? Are you one who didn't always litter? You wouldn't throw a bunch of bleach in the pond? Or were you the kind that kill every ant and bug you see? Shoot the birds down with the BB gun? Or hit them with a rock? So it's time to change these relationships. It's time to really improve the way that we interact with our natural environment. Really important. There you go, Dr. Greenhand. See, we cultivate a relationship. That's at the first level. This is what farming has to be first: an exchange of ideas, seeds, and soil. Seeds being that truth and that good information, the soil really being a fertile mind, a fertile ground in the mind, where somebody can tell you something and you can apply it and it works. What it's about. Our relationship with the bees generated all kinds of honey. We have honey down at the farm based on, us cultivating that relationship. You see the relationship with the fish tanks. That's the aquaponic tank. So we cultivate a relationship with these fish to learn about how they grow and what's needed to make them, a more sustainable species, right? Cultivate the relationship with the food waste to turn that waste into soil. Look at that mountain of food waste. That becomes the real black gold soil, So that our urban farm stays pristine and right. Cultivate a relationship with the children. You know, you see, so showing y'all the farm is not just about being in the garden all the time. You know, farming or this agriculture is not just about, you know, getting dirty per se, right? This is about cultivating relationship with everything you touch in life, every person, every aspect, especially the things that really mean a lot to you, right? So you see here, we created a puppet show, the Green Light Theater. It's Dr. Greenhand likeness up there. So Dr. Greenhand is the star of that show. And he talks about how important it is to be an environmental steward, cultivating relationship with the children, bringing them down to the farm, bringing them into another understanding so they can become what we call a green agent. You know, one who's going to stand up for and represent, you know, what's good and right about, you know, preserving our society, preserving our communities, preserving our environment. You know, all about cultivating those relationships, y'all. Real important. Real important. So again, you know, as I continue, you know, to show and to demonstrate these things, you know, for us, what we have to do is begin to find areas in our own personal life that we can begin to say, this is what that is for me. This is how that fits. I can work with this. You know, find your lane, so to speak. That's what we always say. Find your lane. Okay. Next piece. So the earth, the farm, your land, your backyard, your pot, wherever you grow at, is a classroom for the development of your soul. This is where we at, y'all. This is what time it is in terms of personal development. You know, self-development is really, really imperative when it comes to those who are watching you, because you're always being, you know, watched, observed. You know, you have to be that example of what's good and right to do. And so when you demonstrate good earthly principles, I heard Manny talk about John Paul was an example of, you know, good stewardship. And so therefore he was like, man, I need to do how you do. And this is how it grows. This is how it does. This is how it evolves. This is how when we talk about an evolutionary species, we evolved. Yeah, but not from no monkey. You know, we evolved in the way we do things, in our cultivation processes, how we develop our relationship with each other, how we develop our relationship with the land and our people, each other. Real important, y'all. Real important. Because it is essential that we understand that taking care of the planet, it will be done as we take care of ourselves. So, you know, somebody want to jump all out into the environmental forefront and do all this stuff, but you go to their house and they haven't taken care of nothing for themselves in terms of like their cleanliness, their hygiene, no order, right? The world gonna be okay. The planet gonna be okay. We have to look out for each other and ourselves. You know, we talk oftentimes about, global warming and a lot of how man is destroying the earth, right? And we need to save the earth. Okay, the earth gonna save itself, right? The creator knows it's something that's put within the earth to preserve itself. And this is why we have a lot of natural disasters and so-called catastrophes, because the earth is really trying to repair itself from the damage that we're doing to it, right? So we need to really protect ourselves, learn how to, first of all, stop messing up the earth, and then learn how to protect, govern, guide, and grow ourselves to a station where we evolve beyond pollution. We evolve beyond violence and crime. You know, think about how America is the biggest military superpower, right? I mean, what if we were a humanitarian superpower? What would that look like, right? Why not think like that and begin to return these ideas back to the earth? Because you know you can't really make much of a difference in things until you change yourself. And this is what Alice Walker was saying. We know Alice Walker, right? Color Purple, all that. Real profound sister. But understanding that, no matter what we talk about, see, because we can't be so heavenly minded that we know earthly good. That's kind of what she's saying. The great idea, the big idea, the great lofty idea, to save the planet, right? That's a great thing to think about, but at the end of the day, the planet gonna save itself, and if it has to destroy us to do it, it will. So for us, we have to learn how to make these changes and do the types of things that we need to do in order to preserve ourselves and preserve what it is that we're here to do on this planet. I think for many of us, that's the big question mark. Why am I even here? That's why the first thing I ask y'all is, what's your why for taking the class? Why are you here? You may have actually been born for a greater reason than you assume. And this is the reason why, and these are the reasons why we have these types of classes to stimulate, our, how would you say, our consciousness, right? Stimulate our consciousness to a whole nother level. So this class, we're starting in on, in fact, Tanya, can you mute your phone, please? Can you mute? Right. Farm business development, agribusiness startup. All right. So we're going to be visited today by our friend and brother Ambrose Moses from Central State University. See, so Riddall Green Partnership has been involved in a partnership with Central State University for about the last 6 years. And what it is that based on Central State becoming a land grant institution, which is a 1890 land grant, which means that historically Black colleges and universities were granted certain funds to develop their agricultural departments. And the 1860 land grant had to do with general universities throughout America becoming land grant institutions, right? Not talking about the Black ones, right? Talking about just period in 1860. 1890 was this land grant initiative. So Central State really just became one a few years ago. And in so doing, they had to select an area of expertise or an area in which they wanted to develop. And so they were interested in developing urban agriculture, right? Because again, being there in Xenia, Ohio, close to Xenia, Ohio, and knowing the huge disparities of life expectancy there, and also a lot of wasted land and a lot of lack of activity there as well. And so these were things that could help to stimulate the people's interest and to get them on the course of their own food and pulling themselves up from that scenario. So in partnership with Central State University, the Cooperative Extension Service, we offer farm business management training, which incorporates a micro business development methodology. So this is what you're embarking on today, right? This training consists of an intensive and focused collection of educational, professional, and business services that are designed to increase the viability and chances of success for agriculturally based micro businesses, with a focus upon micro businesses owned by low and moderate income individuals. So that's the difference. We're trying to make these things affordable for our people, right? And so that brings me to the subject of that big $2,000 cost that you saw on the on this class, right? It don't have to cost like that, y'all. You have to understand the value of what you're receiving and what people pay. But we're not here to take y'all money. We're here to give you something. However, we would encourage you to to give something substantial from your heart to help support the institution. But we're not going to press you for the money if you don't have it, right? Because if you want this class and you're able to go through and succeed, look, if you get the class for free, you better get an A. That's all I'm saying. If you get this class, you better get an A, because you got to understand how valuable it is. And the right day, huh?
Absolutely, gotta get an A. Excuse me. Anyway, for this next class, you gotta get A's.
Yep,
You
yep,
don't normally hand them out.
yep.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Yep. So y'all just gotta understand, this is where we coming from. This is our love for y'all. This is our love for y'all. You know, we going out and finding the money for y'all. You know, to learn and get this class and to be able to demonstrate this. You know, so the key to achieving this is the membership, or excuse me, the mentorship, the advice, and the counsel that's being provided by industry professionals. Okay, I need y'all to mute your phone now. So this is being provided by industry professionals. The brother you're about to meet and witness, he is an industry professional. You know, he is a university scholar who is dedicated to this area of agriculture and development of us. So I'm gonna let him do a lot of his own introductions on his specific interest, and it is how would you say, intentional, his intention on being here today. However, we have to understand that the measurable outcomes, you know, these classes, they include, but not limited to, you know, for one, increasing your knowledge and confidence concerning being an entrepreneur. Because many of us say, well, I just want to grow some food in the back. I mean, that's good. And please do and continue to do that. But what happens when your food gets so good, everybody wants something, you need to sell it, right? And this is the whole piece about how do we scale up? Because if you're doing something that's so good and so valuable, we really need more of it. So how do we scale up? How do you be that entrepreneur, right? So point two, the property formation of the participants' business. I'm saying properly formation, you know, to have it formed properly, right? With the right tools and the right forms and the right certification to have yourself the right type of business, whether you want to be an LLC, an S Corp, a nonprofit, all these things, you know. But first you have to start with an idea and a business plan. Write these things down like a business plan. So the completion of a written business plan is one of the things that you can achieve while in this course if you pursue it. Now, we're not going to teach business planning in the classes that's going to be at the farm. However, our gentlemen today, we can open that up for you and help you develop those things. Give you the help you need to develop these things. This is what it's all about, y'all. Yeah. To acquire capital, you may need some startup money. You might need to know where to go. You might need to know who has that money, who's giving away grants, how that goes. We help you with those things. The launch of business operations or growth of business operations. So again, to launch and grow your business. What it's all about. Whatever it is, whatever aspect of agriculture you're going to delve into. Pick your lane. You may want to grow flowers. You may do very good growing strawberries. I mean, you may be wanting to really learn how to do blueberries and master that, you know. Whatever it is, think about how it's sustained. How do you keep it alive? You know, how do you start something and then maintain it over the years and over the months? It's going to be based on certain principles and certain activities you have to do that we try to show you and demonstrate in this class. You know, business for survival. Business survival for more than 12 months after the launch of business operations. So again, how do you stay open? It's one thing to get open, but then how we stay open, right? Creation of at least one job, you know, generating revenue during the first 12 months. So I mean, these are the kind of things that are available to you or available to you should you request or, you know, should you desire them. Today's class, or the portion we're about to receive from our friend Ambrose Moses, it has to do with this business development. It's going to take you through in a very comprehensive and concise presentation, you know, really making it for us a how would you say, a perfect situation. Okay. We're gonna learn today. Let's give us one moment here. I'm gonna come out of this screen share piece. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, so there's our master right there, Brother Ambrose. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, doing well. How you doing today, Mark?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So I just wanted everyone to kind of get a little backdrop and a little understanding of our intent and purpose here. And
Okay.
so that you'll understand is that we have quite a few people this season that have signed up for the classes. However, Friday is not really a good day for everyone. However, this is something people have been chiming in and jumping in, jumping out. But the bulk of them are here. Bulk of them are here for you now. And we're recording this, so we will be able to share that with those who miss it. Okay. Any outstanding questions, we would like your information so they can share with you or inquire of you even after the class.
Right.
So
excellent.
Right. So without further ado, let us welcome our brother and friend, the academic master, Ambrose Moses from Central State University. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that introduction and listening to the information you were providing as a background for the program was excellent as well. And I saw obviously a lot of things that overlap and are connect with what we do at Central State University, which obviously, since we've been partnering for so many years, I mean, there's going to be some of that synergy going on. So I do appreciate you all inviting me out today to share the information that we're going to talk about. Let me see if I can share my screen. I think you'll have to enable it. It says host disabled.
Okay, do you need me to, if you can just help me navigate that piece? So you're saying?
Yeah, I think down on the share screen at the bottom, you have to enable.
Okay. One participant can share at a time, multiple participants. Yeah, there you go. You should be available. You should be available.
Yep, there it is. Let me do this. And all right. Is it showing the main slide?
Yeah, everything's up. Yeah.
Introduction. Okay, excellent. All right, let me move this around a little bit here. All right. So as Mark indicated, my name is Ambrose Moses, and I am an extension educator with Central State University, which is located in Wilberforce, Ohio, which is in the southwest quadrant of the state, and it is near Xenia. That's one of the nearest cities to Wilberforce that folks may be familiar with. And in terms of some of the background, because I think it's important for us to continue to create and promote more awareness of Central State University as an 1890 land grant institution. So in the state of Ohio, we have two land grants. We have an 1862 land grant, which is the Ohio State University based in Columbus, Ohio. And we have now an 1890 land grant, which is Central State University in Wilberforce. And Central State University received its status as a land grant institution in 2014. I joined the university in 2017 as the first county agent. And when we talk about land grant, all 50 states have at least one land grant institution, which would be the 1862 land grant. And Mark gave some good history there in terms of when the 1890 land grants came about. In part, it came about because the 1862 land grants, some of them
into business entry information.
Yeah, but I'm talking about that where he.
No.
I think someone needs to mute their phone, maybe. Or okay, thank you. So by 1890, part of the issue was that African Americans were not being served by a number of the 1862 land grants, and so Congress passed legislation which required those states that would not provide access and service to African Americans through their 1862, they had to create an 1890 institution that would serve the interests of those African American residents. And Central State University met the qualifications for that, but due to politics or whatever other reason, the university did not receive its designation until 2014. So that's quick background in terms of the university, in terms of the land grant status. The reason that it's important to what you all are embarking upon in terms of your business and your agribusiness endeavors is because the land grant institutions have three primary functions: research, teaching, and extension. So research and teaching are traditional type things that many and most universities do. Extension is a unique aspect of the land grant institutions, which is where the university uses its information and resources and research and staff to take education out to the community where they are, to help them improve circumstances in the community and improve the operations of their farms or their agricultural endeavors, to improve the life and life experiences of the residents of the state. So extension is that component that takes that education out to the people. So that is a very very unique aspect of the land grant institution, and which then allows me as an extension educator to participate in this program here with this partner, with Ridall Green Partnership. So it's important for you all as residents of the state, and even if you're calling in from outside the state, residents of whatever state you're living in, to understand, to have some idea and to understand about the land grant system, and then to look for those resources and to also make requests, make demands upon that system for things that you need. Because if you don't make your needs or your desires known, then the university or the organization cannot respond to it. So in part, I'd like to take this time, this couple minutes here that I just did to share that and sort of plant that seed for our residents of the state to understand about land grant and to think about that as you go into building your farm or your agribusiness operation. So today we're going to talk about, we're going to do sort of an introduction into business entity formation, and in the context of agribusiness startups. And now these concepts will be applicable to businesses in general for the most part as well, even though we may be talking about them today in the context of agribusinesses. So what you hear today can be used in other situations as well. So in terms of business structure, one of the first decisions a business owner must address is what business structure to establish for his or her company. Now, this is a decision that is going to be addressed one way or the other, meaning that the business owner will consciously make a decision of how they want to structure that business or that entity, or if they do not make a decision, or if they don't know what the options are, then a decision will be made for them by operation of law, meaning that the law will say, you are a sole proprietorship, or you are a partnership, or you are an unincorporated association, whatever that designation may be. The issue with that is, as we go through our talk here this afternoon, how the business is structured impacts various issues in terms of ownership, in terms of liability, in terms of taxation or tax consequences. It may impact exposure of your personal assets. There are a lot of things that go into and that are impacted by the structure of that business. Many people, and you probably have seen folks over the years, sort of take it lightly. All I have to do is go and file a document with the Secretary of State, and I'll create myself an LLC. As you're going to learn here this afternoon, or get an opportunity to see this afternoon, there's a lot more to it than that. I mean, someone could do that, but is that the proper or best option for them to best course of action for them to take? And as you learn some of the things or see some of the things here today, give you some idea as to that, and in terms of what kind of resources they may need to look at. Now, so when we talk about the business structure, we like to start with sort of laying out some of the questions that someone would need to or should consider. And it's those basic questions, the who, what, why, where, when, and how. Those are the basic things that you're going to ask about and look to get some answers to. So when we talk about who is involved in this business or this organization or this project, who is going to be the owner of it? Who's going to own the business? Who owns the land? Are we going to have equipment and machinery? Who owns that? Should it be owned by everyone? Should it be owned by a separate company? I mean, these are questions that should be looked at in the beginning because they will relate to risk. Who's putting in what assets or resources or funds, and are exposed to the risk of loss if something goes wrong in the business. Who is going to benefit from it? Should there be profit generated? Who is going to receive that? Is it going to be the owners? Is the business going to be operated with the purpose of generating profit? Or is it going to be structured as a nonprofit organization? And if so, what does that even mean? Does anyone own a nonprofit organization? The short answer on that is no. You don't have owners in the nonprofit. But these are some questions that you should ask and think about in the beginning of your project. And even if you look at, if we say who owns it or who is involved, that may even change over time. So you may look at it and say, well, who's involved today? Today, I might be sitting at the table by myself as I put together this idea, but I may need to bring in, or I'm thinking I need to recruit and bring in some other individuals to help and to serve some different roles within this thing. So who is that going to be? And if I bring them in, then it's going to be a matter of, well, what do they get, or what kind of impact or power or authority will they get when they participate? What am I willing to allow them to do in terms of decisions? So those are some things are very basic but very important up front in terms of who is involved. Then you would look at your question of what, what is this business or organization or this project? Is it going to be a for-profit or nonprofit? What does it own? Does it own land? Does it own the equipment? Some of the questions that we looked at when we talk about the who. So what is this going to do? That will be important. It may be that depending upon, let's say where you're looking for resources to come from. So for instance, Mark made reference to grants. Maybe someone is looking to fund their operation via grants from a particular foundation or government agency or corporation or some source. Well, question would be, what does that funder require in terms of contributing or donating funds to a project? And so it may be that the funder requires that it be a nonprofit organization. So right there, then that will impact how you structure your operation. If that is going to be the primary or sole source of capital or initial revenue for your organization. So understanding what the business is, what the options are, what the requirements are up front is an important aspect as well. Something for you to dig into, to learn about, and it's possible that in order to accomplish your objective, you may need to actually form multiple entities. It may be that you would form a nonprofit entity in order to access those kinds of resources, but you may form a for-profit as well that works in collaboration with the nonprofit, so that you have your core business, core operation, which will be your for-profit, and then a nonprofit that helps to satisfy those particular purposes, such as education or social needs within that area. So there may be some reasons to actually set up multiple entities, but everyone's circumstances will be different. It's important, though, to know what your options are, that you have options, and what are those options, and then you would make that decision, you and your team. Then you're also going to want to look at the question of why. Why am I involved in this business or this project or this organization? Why I'm sitting at the table with other folks? Why are the other folks here? That may be important as well. You all may have your interests may align in some respects. That sort of brought you there to sit at the same table to initiate or begin whatever the project is, the farm, the community garden, or whatever it might be. However, what if their interests are different? What if they're looking to go in a different direction in the next 6 months or the next 18 months? These are some things that you're going to want to know early in the process. It doesn't mean that will necessarily devastate your operation, but it may require that certain procedures be put in place, or certain expectations be documented and discussed and agreed upon by the folks who are participating. So understanding the why of the folks at the table who are involved in your project is an important aspect of it as well. And again, that's something that should be started early in the process and continued over time as you go, because what your why is may change, what theirs is may change. And if you have other folks who come into the picture, you're going to want to understand why they're there as well. Okay, and it's not there's as long as it's not harmful to your mission, it's not bad that other individuals involved in your project have some other objectives, because there's going to be some things that may be consistent, but if their objectives are harmful to your operations or your mission or your vision, then there's a challenge, something that needs to be addressed, where it may be better to sort of part ways or do something earlier in that process. Our next question in addressing the business formation, the early aspect of it is where is the business or project going to operate? That can impact in terms of how, what jurisdiction, what state is going to be incorporated or organized in, or if it's even within the same state. If the business is going to operate in different counties, different parts of the state, there may be some requirements for a different licensing or different tax treatment in terms of, let's say, vendor's license, in terms of selling some of the products or services that will be offered. And there may be some, a lot of tax exemption when we're talking about selling the food, at least in the state of Ohio. However, you're going to want to know where this project or where this business is going to operate and how that may impact the structure or the needs of that structure as well. Then we look at the logistics of some of the timing in terms of when is this going to happen? When is this business going to start? When is it going to bring on its first owners or investors? What is going to be, when will you be needed in terms of your participation in the business operations? When can you participate? What is the commitment that you can make to it? In terms of the others who are at the table with you, when can they be there? I mean, you're going to want to know this and think this through, because there will be a need to rely upon yourself, but also the others at the table, be they co-owners, be they employees, be they volunteers. You're going to want to know the logistics of time, of when they're going to be there, when they can be there, because all of that can impact the operation of your business, and it may impact how you actually structure the business in the beginning. It may be that in part, when we talk about this in terms of structuring the business, it may be that in order to incentivize or give folks a reason to be there when you need them, that you may want to rely upon volunteers, but people can only volunteer so much. People still have to live. They need to have whatever income. They need to be able to use their time for things that are of a priority to their lives. And so it may be that you would need to bring them in as a part owner of the business, or share some of the equity. That might be an option to help incentivize their involvement to be there when you need them. So all of these are some things to think about as you look at your structure. And then finally, how is this going to be done? How is it going to work? And many times when folks are looking at, say, hey, I'm gonna set up an LLC, they start with the how, and merely look at the physical aspect of filing documents with the Secretary of State to create this basic entity, basic LLC or corporation, without going through the questions that we just mentioned here this afternoon, without knowing what the options are in terms of even structuring the LLC. If they say, well, I'm going to do an LLC, well, what are the options there? In terms of setting that up? Is there just one way to do it, or are there multiple ways to structure that LLC? And if so, is there some assistance available? Is there professional assistance? And if there's professional assistance, who would that be? There would be legal assistance. There would be accounting or tax assistance from a CPA. There could be business management organizations who can provide some of that guidance as well in terms of some of the business aspects. So we go through all of these questions and sort of introduce those, put those on the table as a way to sort of get you thinking about this process, and to get you thinking about this process early as you're forming your business, your organization, your project. And I use those terms, I'm saying business, organization, and project, to try and be all inclusive of what it is that you are thinking about doing. And it's important to, in terms of having this broader view, to sort of be open-minded to the information and to the options that can be of use as you continue going down this path. I mean, you all are in this training program with Ridall for 5 months. So you've committed yourself to learning for a significant period of time, because that is a very significant commitment there. And so I like the idea of putting these questions out early in the process so that you can think about them over time as you continue to learn some of the other details and technical aspects of your agricultural endeavor. Now, when we look at structures, and we'll talk about we're going to compare some of the business forms, business structures, but we will talk a lot about the limited liability company, or LLC, because it is the most popular structure that is used today. It is the newest of the structures, but it has grown to become the most popular. But I would venture to say that many of them are not properly structured. Folks are doing things on their own without professional guidance, and they're not fully using these structures. So on the next few slides here, I'm just going to sort of quickly show some of the basic limited liability company structures, or different ways someone may set up their LLC. So we won't go into a lot of detail on this here today, just to sort of introduce it, and then we may be able to set up another session, or you could contact us. I'll send you guys more information about the different programs that we provide through Central State University, where there will be some opportunities to learn some more detail about it. However, basic LLC is that you have the limited liability company, and then you're going to have members, which is indicated in the green here. It's possible that as you structure, you're going to have members, because the members are the owners. But in terms of how the LLC is going to be managed, you have a choice you can make between that it will be member managed or that it will be manager managed. Many folks, when they establish their LLC, they don't know that they have that choice, and essentially they're just setting up member managed LLCs. So they're just using this one connection here between the members and the LLC, and that is how they operate. And there are strategically there are some reasons to even consider doing it as a manager managed LLC, in terms of taking some of the day-to-day duties away from members, allowing them to be more in the line of investors, more passive in terms of their involvement, and consolidate the operations or running of the business in one or more managers of that company. And the managers could be members, or it could just be someone you hire from the outside. So this is a very basic structure in terms of how it's laid out here. But even with that basic structure, many times folks don't know the options that are available to them in doing that. Another structure within of an LLC, which in Ohio it's new, because in 2021, Ohio revised its Limited Liability Company Act, its LLC Act, and created an entirely new chapter in the revised code. And one of the things that it allowed is for the creation in Ohio now of what's called a series LLC. And a series LLC, which in terms of some of the work that I've done over the years, in terms of my law practice, there has been individuals who would set up a company, and they want to then set up a subsidiary or set up a company under the company. And that is possible. It can be done. Sometimes it gets a little complex. You have to set up multiple entities. But with the series LLC, it is possible to set up your primary LLC, or in this diagram here, they call it the master LLC. And then underneath that, still within that structure, you can set up a series for each of the other companies or operations or different assets that that the company has and is utilizing. So each of the series would function very similar to a subsidiary of a company, and but it's all still within that single LLC. And so it is a way to limit and protect certain assets in terms of their exposure, but to still have some consolidated aspect of the management. And so that would be utilizing what we call as a series LLC, which is new in the state of Ohio under the new law as of 2021. This here, this next diagram is another description of a series LLC, a basic series LLC. You see the LLC at the top, the limited liability company. There are assets that are owned directly by that LLC. Then down in the middle, you see the three series 1, series 2, series 3, which then are going to have separate collections of members and then separate assets for each of them as well. So let's say if series 2 there was involved with transporting of produce across the country for this operation, and so the trucks, one of the trucks gets into an accident and causes significant damage, and it was the fault of the company and the fault of that series. So there may be claims or lawsuits against that series, which may actually bankrupt that series. And in doing that, question would be, if the claim exceeded what that series owns, would it impact the assets that are held elsewhere within the LLC or elsewhere within one of the other series? And so under the new law, the question is that the answer would be no, that the liability out of that series would be limited to that particular series. So it is a way to build in some limited liability even inside the structure of that LLC that's engaged in these different lines of business. So again, all we're doing here is just showing briefly, some of the different structures of an LLC that the owners can put together, with their advisors as they move forward with that. All right, so as we get into the core part of the presentation here, why is structure important? And as we compare and contrast them, we're going to look at the issues of ownership, liability, and taxes. And we'll use that as we compare the different business structures. Ownership, when we just say ownership, it sounds very basic, very straightforward, but it is something, it is an aspect of the business formation that it's important to properly document, to understand and to properly document in terms of who owns the business or who owns what aspect of the business, how much of it do they own, and then also what does that ownership entitle them to do? So that goes into some of the aspects of management or authority to act on behalf of that company. Can someone bind the company just by the aspect of being an owner? There are some circumstances where that might be the case. And with respect to an LLC, using the new law in Ohio, they're looking to be more specific, more transparent on that issue. Where now under the new law, you're permitted to have what's called a statement of authority, which is a document that would be filed on the public record in which you indicate who is allowed to, who has the authority to actually sign on behalf of this LLC and to obligate this LLC to any particular contract or obligation. So that is a new provision as well that is has been implemented in the new law. Then in terms of liability, that is another aspect that is going to be very important to consider as we look at the limitation of liability, trying to separate the business assets from your personal assets, looking to not expose your personal assets to as much risk, because going into business and operating a business can be very risky. So liability is one of the things that we'll look at as well, and how that impacts. And here's a diagram which sort of shows, sort of illustrates the utilization of the LLC as like a barrier between the personal assets and the business assets, as a way to sort of shield and protect them. And in a sense, it also protects, we talk a lot about protecting your personal assets from the risk of operating the business, but the LLC can be used to protect the business assets from your personal debts and claims that may come up. An individual may default on a loan, or may get involved in a car accident and incur some personal liability that potentially could impact the business, because their ownership interest in the business is personal property. It may be something that a plaintiff would try to take in terms of to satisfy whatever personal debt someone has. So that is it's sort of a two-way street in terms of how the LLC might help protect those assets on both sides. And then finally, we have the issue of taxes, which is something that all businesses are going to have to address. How is this income going to be reported for tax purposes? Is it income of the business? Is it income of the business owners? Who is the IRS going to expect to handle or report the tax consequences, in terms of reporting the profits and then paying taxes on that accordingly? Is it going to be the business, or is it going to be the business owners? And as you look at the different structures, you'll see that aspect does differ depending upon how that business is structured. And just very briefly, sort of an overview, you'll see here with this diagram that you have your LLC, and then each member, in terms of some of the tax treatment or tax activity for the business, it shows Form 1065 and a Schedule K1. So it's showing that the business is going to file, as a multi-member LLC, is going to file the Form 1065, which is a partnership tax return, telling the IRS we have this profit, this loss, and these are our partners. And then that business, that LLC, is going to issue a Schedule K1, which would go to the members, which will show them and report to the members their share of the profits or their share of the losses. Then the members, as you look at the diagram, are going to have their own tax treatment, where they will file their 1040, and then they're going to have their Schedule E or Schedule SE, where they're going to report their income or their losses from those their participation as partners in that LLC for tax purposes. All right. Let me see here. Looks like someone asked the question, are series LLC the same as DBAs? I'm going to say, from a legal standpoint, no, they're not. DBA stands for doing business as, and DBA is not actually a classification of a business. So if you say DBA Acme Inc., basically with the DBA, you're just using a name that's different than the legal name of that entity, of that business. And so technically, when we say DBA, you're talking about operating under either a trade name or a fictitious name. And it would be important then to just register the that name, that alternative name, to properly register that as a trade name or as a fictitious name. And then there are different statutes and rules that relate to that as well. And you know, at some point we could talk about that if folks have questions on it. Can you change your regular LLC to a series LLC? Yes, it's possible to modify, amend, or restate the articles of an LLC to change its structure. Now, there are some statutory requirements, so you want to make sure that everything is followed properly, but it's possible to do that. All right, so in terms of sort of an example that we can use as we discuss these topics and sort of compare them, we like to use this example that we put together, where we have a farm where they're growing fruits and vegetables, and then we have two individuals who are, just from the image here, from the picture, appear to be selling, the food, maybe at the edge of the road or at the edge of the farm. So a question would be, in looking at the picture, one question that comes out: can we tell what kind of business this is? Can we tell if it's a sole proprietorship or partnership or corporation or even an LLC, just by looking at the photo here? And the brief answer, the quick answer to that is no. And that sort of is something to highlight the fact that there are decisions in terms of the business structure that have to be made and that are made that are not always apparent just by viewing those business operations from the outside. So by looking at this picture, we can't tell how this operation is structured. We don't know if these are owners of the business or volunteers or employees, just by the outside view. But you as business owners are going to want to make sure that you understand what the options are and what it is how it is that you're structured, and making sure that all of your internal records and those things that need to be done are properly done. Okay, so that even if someone can't tell from the outside, you know what you have, and you know that you have those things properly structured. So in addition, as we continue with our example here, someone's question: if you move out of Ohio, can this multi-member LLC be transferred? If you move from one state to another, in terms of whether you can transfer an LLC, you would need to look at where is it operating, and what are the requirements of that particular state, in terms of what qualifies as doing business in that state. If the business is deemed to be operating in this other state, then it would need to register, either transfer its business, which may be a little bit more complicated, but it could also register as a foreign entity, foreign LLC or foreign corporation in that other state. So, and each state has their own processes and procedures for that. So it would be helpful for an individual to probably speak with counsel as they address you. All right, so back to our example. We have the farm, they have the produce, and then so they learn that there is a market nearby that has a demand for locally grown organic vegetables. And so now they actually have a market, that they can sell to. So everything is good, and so there's a lot of demand and things are going well. But as what happens in business, many times, sometimes things are beyond your control, things happen. And so their truck, they purchased a truck and they have all the food and produce, and something happened, so now in this image, we see the truck is tipped over on the roadway. Food is spread all across the road. Obviously, there's some damage to the vehicle, and there's very likely damage to or injury to individuals involved in this incident. And by virtue of the food, laying all across the road, obviously it did not make it to its destination. So now, as a result of this incident, there's liability that could arise. And so in our example here, we're looking at, let's say if the company, the business, we don't know what structure it is yet, but let's say the business has assets of $125,000. And let's say as a result of that, the incident, that there are claims that total $135,000. So clearly we could see that the claims are greater or larger than the assets of that business. And the claims could come from injury or damage to property, a breach of contract, or a combination of those things. So a question would be that, there's still $10,000 that's owed. If we take all the assets of the business and apply that towards the claim, there's still $10,000 owed. So a question is, must the owner of the business pay that $10,000? And the answer to that would differ. It differs based upon how the business is structured. If that business involved in the accident was a sole proprietorship, then the answer is yes, that the owner, the sole proprietor, would be personally liable for that $10,000. If it's a partnership, the partnership assets would be used to satisfy the claim. But if there was an amount still remaining, then the partners would be personally liable for that. And let's say if you're one of the partners and you have personal assets, but your partner does not, then that $10,000 may come out of your personal assets. And then hopefully you and your partner will have some arrangement or be able to work out some contribution that your partner can make to you to share in that. But up front, they may take it from whatever partner actually has those personal assets. If it's a corporation, then those owners would be called shareholders, and the answer is no, they would not be personally liable, be it one or be it multiple shareholders. They would not be personally liable for that $10,000. And the same if it was an LLC, the owners or members of the LLC would not be personally liable for that $10,000. Okay, I'm not sure if I understand that question. Yes, they have a deficit. All right, so as we move forward here to look at the options and to compare them, the basic options we're going to look at are the sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, and the LLC. And again, now we're going to look at the ownership, liability, and taxation, and we'll just touch on those. So with the sole proprietorship, we have a single individual engaged in the business activity. That individual and that business are one and the same. There's no separation or distinction between those two. So as a result of that, any liability of that business is a liability of that individual, which then exposes their personal assets, their car, their house, their personal bank account, any personal property that they own, to the risk of that business. And there's no limitation upon that. In terms of the tax consequences, the sole proprietorship would report, the sole proprietor would file their 1040 and they would attach their Schedule C, and they would report their profits and losses from their business operations. And so it's all on their individual or their individual tax return. And there are no special documents needed to create a sole proprietorship. Just an individual engaging in that business activity will be deemed to be that sole proprietorship. Our next structure is the partnership. Now, a partnership is when we have, the owners are called partners, when we have two or more persons that come together to engage in a business activity. And when we say persons, we're saying persons in the legal sense, which is going to be individuals, but it could also be corporations or LLCs or nonprofit corporations, which are recognized as persons under the law. And when these entities are recognized as a person, they're able to contract, they're able to sue and be sued, own property, borrow money, loan money. They're able to do legally anything that that other persons or individuals can do. In terms of liability, the partnership in terms of liability is what we call sort of a pass-through entity, as we saw in the example, that ultimately liability for partnership debts and claims falls to those partners. The first level to address those is the assets of the partnership. But if that is insufficient, then the assets of the partners could be used to satisfy those debts and claims. And then in terms of taxation, as you saw in the example, the one diagram that we took a look at, the ultimate tax consequences pass through the partnership to the partners. So the partnership will file the Form 1065. It will report, its profits, its losses, and who the partners are. And then the IRS will look for those partners to report their share of that on their return. And a partnership agreement is needed when having a partnership. However, it's possible to have a partnership that has an oral agreement. It's not recommended, but that it is possible to have that. So the recommendation would be not legal advice, just basic recommendation is to have written agreements when you do your if you are to go into a partnership, because the partnership agreement will indicate who the partners are. How do we bring in new partners if we want to bring in a partner? What happens if a partner wants to leave the partnership? How are we going to handle management and control of this partnership? So partnership agreement is something that can be very helpful, and it should be done in writing and done early in the process. When things are going good and people are open to planning what it is that they're looking to do. All right. Our next structure, the most formal of our business structures, is the corporation. Now, when we talk about the formality of the corporation, what we're looking at is how state law in Ohio requires that corporations have shareholders, which are the owners, board of directors who oversee the general direction and guidance of that corporation, and then officers, president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, handle the day-to-day affairs of that corporation. So you have shareholders, directors, and officers. And it's possible in Ohio to have a corporation that has a single shareholder, sole director, and sole officer. So it's possible to have a structure that has one individual that fulfills each of these roles. He or she just wears a different hat as they do each of those. So as we said, the owners of the corporation are called shareholders, and the corporation can be owned by one or more persons as the shareholders. And when the corporation is formed, which occurs when these articles of incorporation are filed with the Secretary of State, then that corporation comes into existence and is recognized as a person under the law, separate from its owners. So as a result of that, since the corporation is a person itself, when we get to this issue of liability, the corporation is not liable. The owners of the corporation are not liable for the corporate debts and claims. The corporation is going to be liable for its own debts and claims. So that, like in our example, with the truck that flipped over, the corporation, the shareholders are not liable for that remaining 10,000. That is a debt that remains with the corporation, and so that claim could wipe out or bankrupt that corporation, but the shareholders would not be liable for that remaining 10,000. So in terms of taxation, then likewise, the corporation is going to handle its own tax consequences. It's going to file a tax return. It'll pay taxes on its profits, or it will report what losses it has. And then in terms of documentation, some of the formalities, we indicated the articles of incorporation. Those get filed with the Secretary of State, but there's a requirement for corporate bylaws and minutes and resolutions, which are all going to be internal documents within that corporation. And the corporate bylaws are like rules that guide how this corporation functions internally. And then the minutes and resolutions are the formal decisions that are made by the shareholders and by the board of directors as they do their meetings. So our final structure here this afternoon is the limited liability company, or LLC, which is what we refer to as really a hybrid business structure, because there are some aspects, it has some aspects of the corporation and then some aspects of the pass-through entities like the sole proprietorship and partnership, particularly in the taxation area. So in terms of ownership, the owners of the LLC are called members, and the LLC is owned by one or more persons, persons in the legal sense. The LLC is formed when the articles of organization are filed with the Secretary of State, which then brings it into existence, and it's recognized as a person, which, similar to the corporation, means that when we get to liability, the members or owners of the LLC are not liable for the LLC debts and claims. The LLC is going to be liable for its own debts and claims. Then, when we get to the issue of taxation, this is where the LLC is the most flexible, because the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, is only going to recognize for tax purposes, treat businesses as a sole proprietorship, partnership, or corporation. So the IRS does not look at LLC as a tax classification itself. So the LLC will have to fall into one of these other tax classifications for tax purposes. So it's an LLC under state law, but for tax purposes, it'll be treated as one of these other tax entities. So by default, so if there's no special decisions made, by default, the LLC will be treated more as a pass-through entity, meaning that if you have a single member LLC, then it'll be treated as a sole proprietorship for tax purposes. If you have a multi-member LLC, it'll be treated as a partnership for tax purposes by default. However, if that LLC wants to be treated as a corporation for tax purposes, there are additional documentation that can be filed and requesting the IRS to look at that LLC as a corporation and treat it as a corporation for tax purposes. So it is a very flexible entity when it comes to taxation. In terms of the formalities, you have the articles of organization that we made reference to. Then you're going to have the operating agreement, which is similar to a partnership agreement and bylaws. The operating agreement is a central component of the LLC structure. It is the controlling document that provides a lot of flexibility in how you want to structure your LLC. So it's not just a simple couple page document that you find on the internet. They do have those out there, but that's typically not going to really address what your needs and desires are you're probably going to want to have some advice from counsel as you go through that. But particularly under the new law in Ohio, the operating agreement is designed to promote what we'll call freedom of contract, meaning that there are some things that are prohibited or limited that you can't do away with even through your operating agreement. But aside from that, there's a lot of flexibility permitted in terms of how you structure and operate your LLC if it's reflected in your operating agreement. So the operating agreement is very, very important to the structure and operation of the LLC. And so what, we put together this diagram to sort of highlight in the LLC under Ohio's revised law, under the new law in our state. And we look at it as the LLC is the Swiss Army knife of business entities. As you look at the diagram here, the operating agreement and freedom of contract. So that's the core, the heart of the Swiss Army knife. That's the heart of the LLC. Then you'll see over to the left where in terms of the for-profit LLCs can be structured in Ohio as a for-profit entity or even as a nonprofit entity. So you have that flexibility to structure the LLC as one or the other in terms of the for-profit and nonprofit. Then looking at some of the other tools off of the Swiss Army knife, we have the ability to structure the LLC as a series LLC. Obviously, there's additional language and documentation that needs to be prepared, but that is one of the things that's allowed under the code. Then we also have, the flexible tax treatment, which we just talked about in the previous slide in terms of the LLC being able to fall within the sole prop, partnership, and corporate structure for tax purposes. And then within this LLC structure, you have your limited liability, which is similar to the corporation. And then this major component here, creativity or creative ownership and management structure, which you can, however you're looking to establish that ownership, different classes of ownership, management, different levels of management, structuring it where you have officers similar to a corporation or just member managed similar to a partnership. You have all of that available to you, but it would just have to be written up and structured inside of your operating agreement. So our final slide here with respect to the LLC and our presentation is a quick definition of a complete LLC. And really this applies to whether the business is a corporation or one of the other structures as well. But a complete LLC is one that is properly formed and has created and maintains all of the required documentation to evidence its existence, its ownership, and its decisions. So those three categories. So when the articles of organization or articles of incorporation are filed with the Secretary of State, all that really shows and establishes is the existence of that entity. When you read the certificates that are issued by the Secretary of State, they are just certifying that they have record for that this entity exists in the files or in the records of the Ohio Secretary of State. In Ohio, it's not required that you put the ownership interest on the public record. That's going to be maintained internally. It'll be shown on the operating agreement or the membership journal or membership certificates. So there'll be documentation internally which establishes ownership of that entity. And then in terms of the decisions, we say that the LLC is a person, but it does not have a physical body. So it's going to speak through its documentation, which would be the minutes and resolutions of its members, and if it has managers, the managers, or even its officers, depending upon how you structure that within your operating agreement. So that brings us to our Q&A portion. Let me see, someone has a question here. So would you suggest a LLC or a corporation to conduct business in this field? Which is better in your opinion? I would look at, I wouldn't sit here today and just tell you do an LLC or do a corporation. It would have to depend upon your particular circumstances. And so what an attorney will do is sit down with the client, listen to what the client is doing, maybe take a look at their business plan, and then tell them what their options are, and then structure accordingly. The client could then make a decision, how they want to, there might be 3 different options, and the client may decide to go with one over the other. Now, obviously, I would recommend that there be a structure so you can limit your exposure, but whether it be a corporation or an LLC, I couldn't just sit here today and just tell you do one over the other. But the LLC is very flexible. And one of the reasons that we highlighted it today is because of that flexibility, because of the new legislation, and Ohio making efforts to be on the cutting edge of the LLC structure across the country. All right, so I'm going to open it up. We can open it up for questions. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And yeah, so feel free to let me know if you have any questions. You could unmute, I guess, if you want.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Hi,
Yes.
I'm Tina. Thank you so much. Your presentation is amazing. I've learned so much. My question is, I had put on the chat, but I'm going to say it again. If you have an LLC and it's not operating right now, can it still be recognized as a business Ohio? Like, you see what I'm saying? I transferred from Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
I did the transfer, and so I'm not even a foreign in Pennsylvania anymore.
So your LLC exists in Ohio. It's registered with the Secretary of State.
Registered in Ohio, but I've suspended operations temporarily. So can it still be registered, just not, it can still be registered, but not fully functional?
It exists, as it sounds from what you're describing. It sounds like it does exist as an entity in the state. In terms of if there's any limitations, I guess we would have to sit down and talk about specific whatever specific circumstances you have going on, in terms of if there's any limitations. But it can exist as an entity, as an LLC, and not be active, so that is possible. Yes.
I have one more question. Do LLCs have to submit minutes and resolutions to the state every year, or when they have one? The documentation.
No, that's where I was saying where the minutes and resolutions are internal records for that LLC, but that is how you document the decisions of that LLC. So if you have members, if you bring in a new member, you're using your minutes and resolutions to evidence and to prove this was our decision to bring in this new member, or this was our decision to purchase XYZ real estate. So those are the formal decisions, but they're maintained internally.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Is there another question or comment? Someone wrote, is there a simple way to do an LLC? I know small companies just put them together without a lawyer. And it's possible to do that. However, that's why I went through the information that I provided, because we've had record numbers of LLCs created, businesses and LLCs created, but it's people don't know what they don't know. So there are people who they're not doing it properly, or they're not doing it to in the best way for even their own circumstances. And so, in part, I can I hope I don't go over too much, Mark. But if I could take a little bit more time here. One of the programs that we
you're good. You're good.
Okay, thank you. One of the programs that we did at Central State that I was put in charge of dealt with disaster management. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, how it devastated economies and businesses around the world. So the federal government and state governments put out money, resources to help businesses, but like the PPP loan and the EIDL loans, things of that nature. But what happened, there were a significant number of businesses, and particularly Black-owned businesses, that weren't able to qualify. They didn't qualify to get the loans and those grants because they didn't have records. They didn't have the records in place. Their business processing wasn't up to par. They didn't have those things in place. And so so what we looked to do was to and for me that goes to the area of preparedness, and it's just basic business structures, basic business operations, basic business records. And so what we're looking to do, what we've been doing, is trying to help educate and help businesses to just do those core foundational type things, and helping to take down some of those barriers, whatever the hurdles are. If there's a need, and I think there is, in terms of other professionals, that's something we haven't done yet, but we'll my thought is that we'll work on it. Accountants, lawyers, helping to provide some connections for that, because people need to have that guidance. It's not something as business owners, project owners, organization leaders, do not have the mindset, I'm going to avoid going to a lawyer, or I'm trying to avoid going to an accountant. Those professionals are there for a reason. They have expertise. You don't have to be the lawyer for your business. You don't have to be the accountant, but you should have a very good base understanding of those components of operating your business, because you're making the business decision. Your goal is to make an informed decision. So you're going to want advisors, professional advisors, who can help you to know what your options are, to answer questions you might have about those options, and then to help you execute whatever option is that you decide to go with. So I think that this idea of people putting together their companies without a lawyer, like I said, is possible, but I tried to show those different examples in the beginning, the different questions, and then the different diagrams, to show that when people do that, for the most part, they don't know and don't think about those different options. So it's not something that I would recommend, but we're still working on helping getting more resources available. All right. And I'm sorry for going a little bit long on that answer there, but that's something that's been very important as we get into as we continue to do this work, because I just see so many folks suffering and sort of falling short because they don't have things in place, and it's just basic business processes. I see someone's hand up. Manny Santiago.
Yeah, I have a question. Is there any way we can get that packet that you just everything
My
that you went through?
slide presentation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think I have your emails. Mark, I think I was on the list at one point. Someone sent me an email. I'll send it out to you all.
Yeah, because I would definitely like to look that over and like go over that with my group. So
Okay.
thanks.
Yeah, we can do that. Let's see here. There was another question. Thank you. Are you okay? Okay, you're welcome. I think I've answered everyone's question in the chat. Have I missed any? Let's see here, somebody else. Okay. And yes, then I'll get the slides together and share those with you all as well. So.
Oh yeah, let's give a one round of applause, Brother Ambrose Moses, Central State University.
Right.
Powerful information. You understand?
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Very, very important, you all. That information there, it really is priceless. And you know, Ambrose, you know, he being modest, but you know, he's a lawyer and everything. You know, tell him what all you do, Ambrose. I think he's a lawyer, preacher, politician, electrician.
Not a politician, but I've been practicing law for a number of years, and my primary area is business, nonprofits, and estate planning, and actually prior to joining the university, I had been doing, you know, I do my practice, but I did a lot of volunteer work with like the Small Business Development Center, ECDI, and some of the other organizations, SBA, in terms of doing presentations about business structures and things of that nature. And so when the opportunity with Central State came along, it really is like, so I get paid to do things that I was volunteering to do. So it just seemed like it was sort of a, you know, a match made in heaven. But there's always challenges when you go to work for somebody else. So, but that's a whole nother story. So
about that,
but it is sort of a passion of mine to work with folks to try and help to empower them to change and to improve their circumstances, whatever their goals may be. And education is that education is just so essential to that. One of the quotes, I didn't actually put it into this slide presentation, but during that first year when I started, you know, and I, you know, met the folks at Ridall, I came across this quote from Nelson Mandela that education is the greatest weapon which we can use to change the world. And that is I think sort of highlights how important this work of education is. And we're not talking about education just as some neutral, just education for the sake of education. We're talking about using knowledge and information to change and to improve one's circumstances. So there is an actual active component to this. But the thing is, it's not just the educator or the organization that's providing the information. The recipient, the actual end users have to be and take that responsibility to learn and put in whatever that work is to learn and understand whatever the concepts might be, so that they can then use it. So, because someone can give you a shovel or a walk behind plow or whatever the tools are. I don't even know all the tools yet for in the ag sector. But if you don't put in that time to figure out how to actually use it, it's of no value. So there is a responsibility on people to learn and then put that to use, you know, in their lives. So that's you know, a lot of what I do. And then I do my my law practice, you know, outside of my efforts with the university. So and since we're here at the beginning of the year, and this is we're still in January. This is one of my first presentations I've done. This is my fourth one this week. I did we have two groups down in the Dayton and Trotwood area, where Central State, where they're doing a farmer incubator program. And so I did presentations this week for that to that group. And we talked about business planning and business formation. Last month we talked about business planning. And then yesterday we had a program where our team, our community and economic development team, was providing information dealing with working with external partners. And so we did a session and had a guest speaker who led a discussion about engaging with external partners. So there is a lot of information out here. And I would just encourage you all, I mean, you're in the right circle being with Ridall. I would encourage you to reach out to me, reach out to us at the university, and ask for stuff and push. I make the demand. I can't stress that enough. Make the demand. Make the demand. But it's always whatever that might be. I mean, I'm not trying to limit you. I'm telling you, make the demand. We have to make the demand.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And what was that piece of art behind you, man? What's that art behind you?
That was some artwork I found online. I have to find the artist, but I'll be able to share that with you all. I gotta pull that down.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's nice, man. Real nice.
Right. Thank you.
But thank you so much, brother, for your presence. And we're not going to demand you to hang on, but we do want you to, if you could leave your information, what you would like the students to have in terms of their ability to contact you. Would you just want me to forward your card on, or you got something else more recent?
Yeah, I will. I'll send an email, because I think you guys forwarded me an email that has everybody listed. Yeah. So yeah, I'll send with the slide deck, and I'll send my contact information with that.
Gotcha.
All right.
Thanks so much. Awesome.
Good luck. All right.
Awesome. Yeah. So thank you again, Brother Ambrose. And just wanted to take another opportunity to go over a few more things with you all as we look at let me see. What we're embarking on moving forward. And so again, looking at, tomorrow, it's going to be huge. It's going to be very nice, and I want you all to make sure that you're there and ready to participate. I wanted to entertain any outstanding questions or thoughts, at this time that any of us might have pertaining to what was discussed today, what's needed for tomorrow, etc. Okay. But I do want to put in a few how would you say, commercials here as well. There's I mean, to me, I'm just always watching stuff and just seeing what's happening out here. And this is it's just phenomenal time, y'all. So let me show you this piece right quick. So we're always going to be updating y'all and giving you the current events, giving you the, here we go.
Lamar,
yeah.
Before you continue, someone is asking in the chat, could you review back over what is needed for tomorrow? So there's just a couple people just asking how to prepare.
Okay, for tomorrow, just come always with pen and paper. Have some boots or some type of outerwear that you don't mind if weather becomes inclement. That this is going to snow this weekend. I don't know what that's about exactly, but we are going to tour the farm tomorrow, and you can put your hands in a little bit of soil. But a lot of what we're going to do tomorrow is going to be indoors in a space where we'll be able to communicate freely without coats and whatnot. But when we do go out, you should be prepared. And when you are in a learning environment with us, you do need pen and paper. You can record, the things that you want from the class. We really don't mind. All we ask is that you just don't share certain things without our permission. But please come prepared to write things down and be prepared to take a tour of the facility. And it's the farm has 18 acres, but we're not going to just drag you through everything. But just you can walk for a minute, okay? Those are inhibited about that. We can make special arrangements, okay? Not a problem. All right. So this piece here, need y'all look at it. Look what the title says. Mom names baby Lucifer, right? Then catches hell online as death threats and scary, but this cute little baby, like anything, look like anything but the devil. I don't know. But the internet is outraged that this mom gave him the suddenly trendy name of Lucifer, based on that show they got out, right? So this mom has been demonized by the internet for giving their offspring the trendiest, the 2022's most trendiest, yet most inflammatory baby name. Lucifer, I mean, there's more of them. So I don't know, but it's not the world I was planning on being at, y'all. I'm just telling you, I wasn't really, I wasn't going in for that like that. That's crazy.
I'm with you, Brother Mark.
So it's a lot going on. And I just want y'all to, my whole thing is I just try to stay out the way. It's a lot of dumb stuff going on right now. So we have to preserve ourselves, for our people and our children. And I'm just not into nothing real dumb, man. I ain't into that. But right now we're into preserving life, saving life, procreating life, and showing people the value of life. Man, people out here killing themselves, all kinds of stuff is crazy. The lack of joy, and confidence and love is just waning. But what we say, and we tell them all the time, come put your hands and feet in the soil, grow a new attitude, grow a new outlook, a new lens to look at life through. And this is what we're talking about at Red All Green Partnership, y'all. This is a great opportunity, y'all, right on the cusp of all that you thought that life would be fulfilled for you. This is a beautiful thing. Contact with nature is the next level. People are scared. I was on a call yesterday when this guy was in Europe, I think Austria, talking about how just the doom and gloom. Bottom line, I mean, they already planning on the economy being crashed because they're on a different system over there. So they're like the dollar ain't worth like 2 cents. He said the dollar is worth like 2 cents, and oh boy, he dumping all his dollars. I'm telling y'all, he said I'm dumping all my dollars. I'm getting gold and silver. He like they finna pull the plug. He like, I'm just telling y'all. So we got to know how to eat. We got to know how to. If you dig down deep enough, you might come up on some gold. So that's another opportunity. That's another opportunity we have. If we put our hands in the soil, man, you can come up on something else, right? So that's just where we are. But we're not going.
Did we lose you?
So that it's not just because you register; it's because we have a standard form there that our spreadsheet can be complete. Make sure you're on there. We can always pencil you in after print out. But you don't want. I don't never want to be the one that's penciled in. You don't want to be permanent. I want to be inked in, right? So go online and get inked in. So today we had 21 participants. We'll have a few more people tomorrow that will attend in person. Some will refrain because they may know that they tested positive for COVID or something like that, or they may be symptomatic. you know, but we aren't really heavily tripping, but we are concerned about our health, and you should be too. And so, you know, we know that we're going to have our guards up and make sure that we maintain safety at all times, you know, for y'all. And so nobody really, don't be unnecessarily inhibited about coming, you know. We're going to do it the safe way. All right, as safe as possible. Keep your mask with you. Sometimes you know, have it on. Sometimes you have it off. But just depending on the situation, just, you know, just be conscious. Okay. So any outstanding questions, thoughts, or comments before we sign this portion off? I don't know if Brother Lavelle had joined us back on, and I don't know if our other friends were on here, because I did see our brothers from the UAI on here and a few other ones during the piece. I think we lost some people.
Hi, Mark.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, who is this?
This is Christian A. Johnson.
Hey, Christine.
From Elyria.
All right, good.
I'm great.
I'm glad you checked in with us. I didn't know who that iPhone was.
Yeah.
I'd have been acknowledged.
Well,
Yes,
I'm here at Steel Magnolia in
Okay.
Oberlin, Ohio, and 4 of us are sitting here listening to you.
Awesome.
So I'm with Shantae Jackson and her daughter and her son and an uncle, and her father was here also.
Oh, hallelujah. I'm glad. Yep. I was just getting ready to call them. And I was like,
I just want to let you know, tell everybody I'm sending over at least 50 masks, so they don't have to worry about it, okay?
Thank you. God bless you. God bless you.
Bless
Thank you
you.
so much. Yeah. And see, since Christine, she's one of the alumni of the class. She's a very profound sister, have her own property, have big ideas and big concepts going on. And you know, and the thing is that she reach out to people and she bring, you know, and so that's why I love, you know, I ain't a real big, I ain't definitely not a church dude, but but the thing is that I love the Bible. So you're gonna hear a lot of Bible type stuff. But you know, it always says is that, you know, those that turn many to righteousness shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, right? In the book of Daniel, 12th chapter.
Amen.
Right. And so that's what we deserve. That's the reward we need to have, y'all. Because if we don't have silver and gold, we're gonna be finished.
Amen.
But we got something better than gold, you know what I'm saying, in what we have in each other and in these resources that God gave us, y'all. So that's where I am.
Mark,
Yes.
Mark, everybody keeps asking me here, what time is the recording going to be available? Isn't it already available?
You know, I'm not sure. I'm going to go get Carol to show me how to do this thing, because I'm not really sure. I know it is. I know it's recording, but as long as it's available as soon as we hang up,
Right.
Boot up and send me an email, or I can pull it down. I'll shoot it straight out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll get off the line, but thank you so very much, Mark.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. God bless you. Yeah.
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do the time tomorrow, what time, 10 a.m. to arrive?
11. Yeah.
11?
11.
Okay.
Yeah. We're doing the 11 thing because your people have they have things going on. We've learned in the past that our people, you know, and 11 don't mean come 11:30, y'all. I'm telling you, you know, this is just because people have a lot of things to do and they've been interrupted periodically in their morning commute trying to get to our class. I mean, gotta go to the bank, gotta go here, gotta do this. And I get it on your Saturday. So we'll get that out the way and come, but to be there on time, because we won't hit it and quit it. We have a wonderful lunch brunch type situation from Chef Carol. She's always putting the divine nutrition together for us. It's gonna be really good. So definitely make sure you're there to get you something to nibble on, and you know, something warm to drink, and it's gonna be a great time. Okay, but you can come a few minutes early. We will be there early, but the thing is, don't get in the habit of coming too early, because you gotta cut the heat on, you know, because you know the heat, you know, y'all. Hey, as soon as everybody leave, my man cut the thermostat down to 45. Seemed like that. But
I just want to, I'm getting ready to sign off, but I'm looking forward to meeting everybody tomorrow.
Okay, likewise. And God bless you. And yeah, we look forward to everybody. We'll go ahead and sign off at this point. Any other questions we didn't catch? Anybody else's question? Give you a few minutes. Yeah. All right, then we good. Peace and love,
Peace out.
y'all. Yeah.